Welcome to Season 2 of the SOAR podcast, the place for creative entrepreneurs who want to build healthier, happier, more profitable self-employed businesses. I'm your host, Ray Hyde Cornell, business mentor at Chiron Consulting and CEO and senior copywriter at Cornell Content Marketing. Get ready to soar. Welcome to the SOAR podcast. On our episode today, we have Jen Mons. Jen, tell our listeners about your business and what it is that you do.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. So I'm a mentor for high-achieving, purpose-driven women, and I help them to redefine wellness and wealth with freedom and flow. And I do that through retreats, which are my favorite thing to do, but also a program called 5-Element Wealth and Prosperity.
And you were sharing a little bit with me before we started recording about your life and how what you teach and what you're living is so beautifully mirrored. I mean, they line up so nicely. And I think a lot of us, that's what we're aiming to get to. We're trying to get to that point. Do you mind sharing a little bit about what life looks like for you?
Oh, thank you so much for asking. It feels really good to say that I create a business around my life. And just before the show, I was sharing with you that I've been traveling for 5 weeks. And although I feel tired, it's in a good way because I've been traveling a little bit for work. I hosted a retreat in Hawaii. And then from there, I took my older daughter to Italy to explore colleges. And from there, took my younger daughter to Barbados to compete in the biggest surf contest of her life, her first international surf contest. And so it feels really good to know that I embody what I teach. And what I was sharing with you is that if my family home didn't feel stable and joyful, and if I didn't have my health and everything aligned, that I wouldn't enjoy, or I wouldn't probably choose to do the work that I do to support the women that I support. Feels good to know that I'm living it, my daughters are living it, and because of that, I get to help other women do the same.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what we all want, right? Like we all have these messages of passion and we feel very strongly about the way life should be and what should come first and our priorities and what we want when we are at the end of our lives and we're looking back. We all feel very strongly about that. But then we look at our Asana tasks and our agendas and our to-do lists and they don't match up. And so it's a little bit of a chicken or the egg situation. Do you work really hard and hustle in order to have that amazing life? Or do you need to kind of like, I don't want to say force, but do you want to prioritize that amazing life and then everything else will follow? But that requires a lot of trust. And it's this culture that exists, especially in Instagram, but also in Facebook, of the fake it till you make it. And, you gotta hustle and work hard. Like, what is your philosophy around that and how you got to where you are?
I love this conversation so much. It's exactly who I'm here to serve. And I just want to open the conversation by saying you don't get here by not having lived through it. And what I really value and what sets me apart from other coaches is the mastery of embodiment and energetic alignment. And so, although I'll just kind of recap who I am in a nutshell, but an overachiever. I graduated from a military service academy, so congressional nomination to get in, and graduated with the only 2 degrees that you could get, 2 Coast Guard licenses. I was a reservist in the Navy. I was a corporate engineer. And then the day that I became a mother in 2006, I had a near-death experience. And so I had an out-of-body liver failure experience when becoming a mother. And so that really altered the course of my life. And from there, I went into health coaching and life coaching, and that evolved into energy work and subconscious reprogramming. I've been coaching for 15 years. And so through my own life experience, I gathered information and tools of, what it means to really live out our soul purpose. And so I think when we're passionate people, it's not about making that wrong. Like, we're always going to be passionate people. I like to work hard. And I know that my edge is creating that from a place of balance. I didn't just have one health crisis, I had two. And both health crises were all around overworking. So the real question is, where does that come from? Where is that need from, either people pleasing or external validation? What's at the root of that? So it's important to start with really healing the survivor strategy that created what looks like on paper an excellent life, right? Like, I had all the check boxes. I'm happily married for 20 years. I have beautiful children, but I have the longest list of certifications that honestly nobody cares about who hires me. And I'm sure people can relate to that. And so my purpose in this life is to support those women into realizing that it's who you are, not what you do, that is your value, that is your purpose. And so it's why I love to do this work. And I've learned through many challenging situations and overcome many obstacles that have gotten me to the place where I can support these women. Many of my clients are lawyers, doctors, entrepreneurs, corporate execs even. It's a particular type of woman. Doesn't matter really what they do, but it's what's driving them. And so learning to, I really take a stance against but a stance against the hustle culture. And I feel like we're living in a time, and I really believe we're redefining and integrating a feminine energy around what it looks like to create the life that we want. If we look at the big picture in history, and I choose to specifically support women. In my life story, my college was 8% women. I was in the military. I worked in very masculine environments and denied all of the feminine qualities that I had. And men have these too: intuition, nurturing, creativity is even a feminine energy. And so redefining how, like, we're not in the 50s anymore. We don't have to fight for the right to vote. We don't have to fight for, the things that those women did. We're in a time where we get to redefine the balance of family and work, and we get to do it on our terms. And it's when we can see this, and I'm talking to the men too, because the men are staying at home and supporting the nurturing of their children just as much as the women are, more than what I grew up with. My dad was always gone. And we're finding this freedom that we can create a business and a life that we love. Where we get lost is that we're looking outside of us and seeking this external validation of what we think it's supposed to look like. Social media can be really toxic for that. We need to scale it back and really define, get in touch with what are our values, our skills, our gifts, our talents, what's important to us. And for me, health, family, freedom, and travel have always been there. So I found a way to integrate and get paid to travel and spend, which is why my daughter's like, I'm going to go to college in Italy because we've traveled a lot. It's a value of ours. And I think travel is a really wonderful education. It's always been a value of mine. I've been to 40 plus countries. So finding a way to integrate that based on your value system, whatever that is true freedom. I've had clients that make anywhere from $30,000 a year to $1 million a year. They still pay me 22 grand to work with me, no matter what they make. And it doesn't really matter. Like, freedom is different for everybody. And if you live in scarcity mindset or abundance mindset, that doesn't change based on your external circumstances. So the inner work is super important, and really figuring out what is aligned for you. And you said trust. And in my prosperity course, I talk about the frequency of prosperity, which is an energy. It's an energy of giving from a place of overflowing. It's different than abundance. It's the giving and mostly the receiving, which is what a lot of women struggle with, is receiving. And I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about compliments, nourishment, nutrition, support, even asking for help. So this frequency of prosperity, what it really is embodied trust. And I talk a lot about how energy loves clarity. So the more clear you are about what you want, not what everybody else thinks you're supposed to have, the more aligned you are to taking the action and the choices that are aligned from your healthy self, not your survivor self, not the survivor self who told you you had to have all these certifications to make money, because that's a huge money block. Hard work equals success.
Right, right.
But when you're choosing from your healthy self in alignment with your values, from your true self, and you trust, even when the results are not there, that's where the freedom is.
This, I'm sure, because this resonates with me, and I know I tend to attract in our listening base people who have the same philosophy. And this sounds like, yes, this is what I've been saying. This is what I believe. Like, this feels so in alignment. And yet at the same time, for a lot of people, I'm sure this also feels like, oh my God, this feels too good to be true. Or this feels so far away. This dream, this amazing, like in integrity, in alignment dream feels so far away from where we are now. And so, how does someone who's listening to this and go, okay, I want to get to that point. I want to live my life like Jen is living her life. Where do they even begin? What is step one?
I think that's why we're here, right? Like, we want to help those people. What took me 10 years, I want to help somebody accomplish in less time.
Right.
So it's very important, I believe. And I've never been without a mentor or coach, whether I was working on my own healing, holistically, functional medicine, energy work, business, whatever it was. And it hasn't been like, there were maybe a couple months where I didn't have one, but and whether it's a coach or a community of people, having a community that supports you, I think is really important. But before that, taking the time to really create the space to define what it is that you want. And what I find is so many people are glamorously, and I say that in a loving kind of funny way, because like we're so important, we're too busy. We're too busy. And to me, I don't use the word busy anymore. I think that means misaligned. To take the time to slow down, to actually connect with what is working and what isn't, and what we want. And I think we talked a little bit about human design. I'm a manifesting generator. So for me, it's sacral authority. And so I know that I'm a person who can be good at many, many things. And it's remembering that I don't have to be. I get to choose what I want. And that has been a really great tool for me to use in my business. So create some space to really define why this matters and what it is that you want for yourself. Get a mentor. Allow yourself, give yourself permission to receive the support, is how I want to say it, of a coach or a mentor, because it will quantum leap you in ways that are not exhausting, is the best way that I can say it. And on a soul level, energetically, what you're doing is you're shifting your vibration, your frequency, and you're up leveling to a new reality is what you're doing. And when you start to see that your well-being, the way that I teach it is 5-element wealth, is mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, and financial. You can't, like, it's an energy that you choose to live in. The food you eat is important. Movement is important. Your relationships in your life are important. These are all the foundation. And you'll find that entrepreneurs who have created success in their life, they already have those things in place. That's their foundation. They eat well, they move, they have healthy relationships. It might not be perfect, and that's okay. But the intention is there. And because entrepreneurship is one of the greatest self-discovery journeys you will ever go on, and you will be met with your fears, you will be met with your blocks, your beliefs, and the inner work creates the outer results. So whatever your beliefs are about yourself are going to show up in your relationships to money, to food, to people, to your business. So the inner work is important. So I guess in the question that you're asking, the three things are: create the space to really define and get clarity, because energy loves clarity about what you want. Say no to everything else. I ask myself 3 questions. Is it the right time? The first one is this aligned with my values? Is it the right time? Does it have to be me? there's your clarity. After that, get support. It's priceless. A good coach might be an investment, and it's worth it. And then from there, what was that? The third thing I just said, my mind just skipped me. I just said the third thing. But always making your decisions from a place of alignment and integrity, and embodying the values and building that foundation so that it's sustainable and you avoid burnout.
My personal mentor, and I'm very similar to you, where I very rarely don't have a mentor or some kind of group that is helping me level up to the next place where I want to get to, whether that's health-wise, business-wise, whatever the case may be. And my current personal mentor, she always likes to say, there are numerous ways for you to get to where you want to go. The very masculine and Western culture way is hustle, grind, work hard. And sure, that'll get you where you want to go, but it might take 80 years. And then you're in that situation where a lot of our parents and grandparents are, where they look back on their lives and they go, oh, I've been working my whole life. When do I actually get to enjoy it? And the alternative to that is to align your energy, to trust, to find that flow that we don't know how to quantify in a tangible world in this very Western competitive culture. It's very antithesis to that. But that, and getting the support that you need, that's what will also get you to your goals, but in a fraction of the amount of time. And I want to ask you about these 3 pieces to success, which you've told me were mindset, embodiment, and energetic alignment. We're going to take a super short commercial break, and we will dive into that when we get back. Hey, this is Ray. Ready to build a business that supports a life you love, a life you've always dreamed of? It's time to stop passively dealing with what's right in front of you and start deliberately designing your own future. That's exactly what we do in private business mentoring. You and I work together to create a completely custom to you business model that gives you everything you want and need while protecting you from stress and burnout. Ready to get started? Go to chironconsulting.us/mentoring to learn more. There you can also book a free call with me so we can start getting to know each other and see if mentoring is right for you. Plus, I love working with early stage entrepreneurs. That's why my mentoring packages are priced so low. I want you to soar. So don't worry about having to shell out thousands of dollars. Not here. Just go to chironconsulting.us/mentoring to learn more. We are back with Jen Mons. So Jen, talk to me about this threefold philosophy of yours that includes mindset, embodiment, and energetic alignment. Let's start with the energetic alignment piece, because I feel like that really flows from what we were just talking about before the commercial. What does that look like in practice? And you gave us 3 really powerful questions to ask, but how will someone know on either an energetic level, a physical level, an emotional level, or in their life if they are actually living in energetic alignment?
This is such a great question. And I just want to say, like, it might take years to learn to master this, or even, begin to really understand it. At least for me, it has, because it's always been a peeling of the layers. I learned energetic alignment first through my physical body and my health, and that every food has energy. And then I learned it through emotional empowerment, and then my mindset, and then my spiritual growth, because I do believe that everything is energy, everything has energy. And I see us as energetic beings that we get to choose it's what we resonate with. And even just the words that we use, every word we speak has a vibrational frequency. It has an energy to it. And so living in energetic alignment is knowing yourself. And so creating that space, once again, to know and understand yourself, it's cleaning. So create that sacred space and then detox the clutter. So And in your physical space, in your home, in your financial space, even there's clutter, right? In my prosperity course last night, we just talked about like unused gift cards and subscriptions that we aren't using, little things like that. In your relationships, people who are not aligned with your values, you can, if you pay attention, you can feel it. You feel that heaviness, that negativity, that where people are just showing up not really aligned with where you're going. In coaching, I talk a lot about making decisions from who you're becoming versus who you've been. And so that's what we do as coaches. We take people forward into who they are becoming. So when I talk about energetic alignment, we want to align with the future version of ourselves. And some people will call that law of attraction in some way. And one of my coaches, Amber Lillystrom, she was a coach a couple of years ago. She used to say, if the dream is in you, it's for you. And I really believe that if you can see it, sense it, embody it, and feel it, it's already yours. The only thing standing in the way is you not believing that it's yours. So energetic alignment is creating the intention. It's really actually a lot more simple than it sounds. It's creating daily intention to align with your values, with where you're going, and only that. And saying no to everything else. I think the hard part, again, is that everyone is too busy and too distracted to actually check in.
Yeah.
Like check in. How does it feel? And I use somatic coaching style with my clients. Allow your body to be a tool to speak to you. Slow down enough to listen to the messages that will tell you whether you're aligned or not. And like your coach said, we're going to get to the same place. Do you want to flow or do you want to struggle?
Exactly.
And we will have challenges that we'll struggle through that will end up being our greatest gifts. The difference is not letting them weigh you down, like just not being attached to anything or making it mean anything about you or making it define you, but being open to flowing into what's possible.
Yeah. And I think a big thing that people get stuck in, which is the opposite of exactly what you're talking about, is the scarcity mindset, the fear mindset. And I think that really stems from misplaced priorities. If we think that the absolute number one priority right now is paying the rent or paying the mortgage, then that puts you in a scarcity mindset, a fear mindset, a survival mindset, as you were talking about before. But if we shift our focus and we think, wait, that's not, I mean, that'll come. Those things that I need in order to survive will come if I focus on greater priorities and purposes, like living a quality life, living stress-free, having love in my life, spending time with the people who I care about and who I get real enjoyment out of. If you focus on those things, those outer layers of the hierarchy of needs, then all of those inner needs will also be taken care of just in a way of flow and what seems like just magically happening.
For sure. Yeah. If you start believing it, no matter what your circumstances are now, then it becomes the reality, and then the external starts to change. And to your point, and I know you serve a lot of creatives. So here's an example of it, because scarcity mindset is not just money, it's love, it's everything. And it's a low vibration. And so here's an example. So time and money are usually the biggest, I guess, beliefs that people have as to why they can't move forward. So here's an example. Instead of saying, I don't have the money for that, which is very disempowering language, in my opinion, what I would invite the person to say is, what can I create in order to bring that income in? So when I hired my last coach, who was, 30 grand for 6 months, I didn't have that sitting in the bank. And what I said is, okay, this is my choice. I'm investing in this. Now, what am I going to create to bring this in? And I brought it in within 5 weeks. So that's just an energetic shift in mindset, because the other piece was the mindset.
Yes. Let's go into that.
Yeah. So instead of making a decision based on who you've been or what you were taught, what your parents taught you, And my prosperity course it's all about healing your relationship to money. I am so passionate about supporting, I work with women because what it does is it amplifies our voice and our values in the world. And we're living in a time and a country where we have possibility to create what we want. We just haven't been shown, or maybe we didn't believe it was possible. But shifting that mindset from who you've been to who you're becoming. So instead of, I don't have, quote, time or money, which I don't have is disempowering, shifting it to, okay, here I am. This is what I want. How am I going to get there? What can I create? What space do I need to create? If it's really aligned with you, you will be blown away and at how supported you are, because you are aligned to your purpose. And it's really about you just opening up to receiving energetically, allowing yourself to be supported. And I'm not talking about, like, there is a shadow too. And I've been on a spiritual path for 15 years, and I do a lot of spiritual mentorship as well. I'm not talking about like sitting in the magic manifestation and it just happens. It requires aligned action too.
Right. Right.
So knowing that energetic alignment is the second piece to it, and being willing to take that leap of faith is where the embodied trust piece comes in. And so that is the energetic alignment, embodiment, and mindset piece all in one. And the embodiment piece is so important because you are the vessel for that energetic alignment. And so whatever it is that you're calling into life, if you can see it, sense it, feel it in your body, you're already a vibrational match to it, and you're already on your way. Again, the trust piece is choosing to trust, like that last 1%, even when the results are not immediately there, because maybe what you think you want isn't big enough. Maybe what's available, maybe your goal is limiting you. Maybe what's available for you is bigger than you ever imagined. So that's when you get to choose to just trust. And we dipped, I just want to say, like, as far as entrepreneurs go, there's what I've noticed, or on my personal journey, there's been 4 levels to that financial freedom piece, because I feel like most entrepreneurs are seeking time in financial freedom.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so those 4 levels would be, first, employee. So maybe you're working for somebody else. The second level would be to become self-employed. So now you're not depending on anybody else for your income, but you're creating your own income. And then the third level would be that shift to business owner, like you and I have done. So maybe you have contractors or employee, but this is a big shift.
Yes,
no matter
it's
what,
huge.
It really is. And for probably 8 years, I was a coach, but I wasn't a business owner. So I was charging by the hour. I was making 25 grand a year, and it wasn't sustainable, like, at all. And it was kind of exhausting, but I loved it. And then I hired my first business coach in 2018. And she said, like, you haven't made the shift to business owner yet. And I was like, oh, okay. So shifting from being self-employed to business owner, it's a mindset shift. It's a willingness to take up more space. Like, in my mind, I'm thinking, how can I create a business to sell? Like, in, the long term, it's really a much bigger shift. There is a little bit more responsibility. There's also more opportunity. I have 3 to 5 people at any time, contractors that I pay to support my business. And that feels really good. So that's a big shift. And I guess financially, that's probably something that you want to start shifting, maybe around 85 grand a year to 100 grand a year. You might start to hire, a couple people. As you probably know, as a business owner, the first 65 feels a little slower. And then there's kind of this exponential growth that happens because then you have the resources to invest back in. So that's when you become the business owner. And then the 4th level to financial freedom is the investor. So the investor is the person who is thinking, how can I create a business to sell? I'm investing in the contractors who are supporting me. I'm investing in their lives, not just as because they're supporting me, but in their well-being.
Not just their work output, but who they are
who
and the
they
value
are.
they bring as the individuals that they are.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because what I've realized is I'm a creative. I like to create, as many of your clients are. Not everybody lives in that space of, or chooses to be in the space of creative energy. And that's
Right.
okay, but they get to support us. So investor is really the bigger picture and thinking about the bigger why. And for me, like, I have charities and organizations and nonprofits that I love to support. There has to be a bigger mission, because you'll realize when the money comes in, if you don't have that bigger purpose or why, there's a little bit of a love language and an energy, there's a relationship to it that if you don't know where it's going, then it almost might not feel fulfilling. And I think it's super important to have a healthy relationship with money before it comes in.
Absolutely. And this is one of those things where money, I like to personify money. People think, oh, money's an object, money's a number in my bank account. No, money is an energy, which means it's an entity, which means it wants to be treated a certain way, because that's how energy is exchanged. And just like us, money wants to have a purpose. And if money doesn't have a purpose, well, then it's not going to come to you. You're not giving it a purpose. It's going to go to someone else who has a purpose. So think about, and this really goes back to what you said at the beginning and the 3 steps of how to get started. Make the space to actually think about what you want your life to look like, why you want it to look like that, and what you're going to do once you have all these things that you are working towards. Give money that purpose that aligns with your purpose. And the other thing I wanted to ask you about, because I think this is I'm a words person. I'm a writer by trade and just by nature, which is why I'm a writer by trade. But I want to get into the semantics of embodiment, because I think the other term that often gets confused with embodiment, and the confusion I'm going to blame on Instagram and Facebook, is this fake it till you make it kind of idea. But a lot of people say that, and they say in the context of you have to be what you want to be before you are that person. But for a lot of people, that concept, and even the idea of affirmations and setting intentions and things like that, feels out of integrity, because if they are trying to say an affirmation like, oh, I am surrounded by wealth and abundance and money just flows to me naturally, and then they're looking at their bank account and they see that they have $37.23 in there, they're like, wait, that's not true though. So they feel out of integrity. So how do you embody that future person you want to be without being out of integrity and actually embodying the fakeness of the
This
fake
is
it till you make it?
such a good question, and it's so necessary, because I have seen the toxic shadow side of the coaching industry in this aspect. And what comes up for me, and I mean, I am 45, so I am in a, in that age of life of really connecting to my inner wisdom. And it's just a knowing, like, embodiment is a knowing. Fake it till you make it feels so unauthentic to me. Like, I can't even access it. Like,
Exactly.
I might, if I ever said it, it would be to make fun of it, I think. Like, I mean, and I'm not, it just, for me, it doesn't feel aligned. And I don't mean to sound like I'm creating judgment around it. It just doesn't align with where I am. The only thing that, and I have said that, and the only thing that ever brought me was this void, an unfulfillment of not being enough, which is already the thing I'm working on anyway, right? So why, if it's the thing I'm working on, which is why I became an overachiever in the first place, which is why I serve these women, because I see them, I know them, I get them. Everything is about integrity, and for me, being integrity with your word, being integrity with your actions. The beautiful thing is that when you are in alignment, it's easier. There's more flow, because you're coming from a place of your personal truth. You're not coming from a place of what other people think you're supposed to do, because you're not chasing something that isn't meant for you. So again, I know it sounds simple, but it comes down to the willingness. At first, it's a practice, but the willingness to create the space every day, 5 minutes, doesn't matter, to connect with your higher self, your inner wisdom, God, source energy, whatever you want to call it. Slow down enough to connect with truth and create that space for it. Check in with yourself. Is this truth or not? And make your decisions from there. I'm looking at this right now, so I'm just going to share it. One of the things that I created that I find is helpful, because I'm also a meditation teacher and a breathwork facilitator and a yoga teacher, is I created this journal. It's called 13 Moons, a balanced feminine approach to living in the flow of daily devotion and cyclical planning. And I created this because 5 minutes of meditation was hard for a lot of the clients I was working with. So this journal is 365 days of creating awareness around your relationship to your mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, and financial well-being. And it's a beautiful, easy way to just create awareness and activate awareness around who you are and who you want to be. Yeah. So journaling is another way. There are many ways that you can choose. What matters is what works for you might not work for someone else, but choose what works for you. It's really just about the intention. Even if you just pause and take 5 deep breaths before you make a decision. It sounds simple, but when we simplify is where we amplify. And that's the energetic embodiment piece. Embodiment is an energy of knowing. And in order to know yourself, you have to create the space to listen, to integrate. And the important piece, again, is just to not be attached to what it means about you. Because when you get into the story in your mind, you're not in your body.
Right. And I think to synthesize all of these pieces of wisdom that you've given us throughout this whole episode, what I'm hearing you say is the difference between embodiment and energetic alignment and the fake it till you make it sort of trendy Instagram world that we're bombarded with every day. The difference is when you are in embodiment and energetic alignment, you are living to your values. Where when you are living this fake it till you make it, you're living to your goals.
Oh, that's a good, yeah.
They're very different things, because going back to the mindset piece, when you're talking about energy likes clarity, I call it placing orders to the universe. You need to be very clear in the universe. Energy doesn't understand negatives. It's only positive. It's only working in a direction. It doesn't take, it only gives. And so if you're saying, man, I don't want any more shitty clients, or I don't want any more high maintenance clients, well, you're just saying, I want more high maintenance clients. It doesn't understand the negative in that. So you need to be focused on the values of, I want easy clients. I want clients that are aligned with my own values. I want to work with companies that are doing good in the world. And if you say that, then you're going to get that or something better, as opposed to if you say, I want to make $1 million and I want to buy a mansion and have a Ferrari, whatever the fuck you want, like on the tangible side of things. That's living to goals. And that's when it starts to feel fake. That's the fake it till you make it. But when you live to your values, you can never be faking it. You're just embodying and being in energetic alignment.
And you're going to reach your goals. You're actually probably going to blow your goals away. Exactly. Because you're not even actually focused on the goal. You're living present to the journey that you were meant to live. And I love that you said that. That's a great quote, by the way, that you said that. I might have to use that. Yeah, that's so true. I never thought about it that way, but I do, like, I think there's a balance between flow and strategy. I'm not super pro goal. I'm definitely more about alignment. And it's nice to have the vision. Like, the vision keeps you focused on where you're going. And again, I come back to trust. I come back to just trusting and knowing, even when really doesn't look like it or when it doesn't feel like it. And, my health crisis, I call the soul upgrade. It completely took me out of corporate, changed my life. I also had a very difficult business partnership breakup that led me to financial breakdown. And what that is clarity about what doesn't work. Yeah. And so now I get to choose. That didn't work. Moving forward, what did I learn? And don't ruminate in the past, but see the vision, know that it's there for you. And if you couldn't see it, it wouldn't be for you. There's a quote by Rumi that says, what you're seeking is seeking you. And I love that because it's true.
And on that note,
yeah,
for those who are seeking the kind of support that you give, they're seeking you and you're seeking them. So where can people check you out if they want to learn more about you, your work, your philosophy, and working with you?
Thank you for that opportunity. So jenmons.com, JENMONS.com. I have online courses. I offer group coaching, private coaching, and retreats. I do have this 13 Moons journal that's right now available on Amazon or through my website. And some ways that I work with women look like the daily devotional practice. I have a program called 5-Element Wellth, which is building that foundation mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and financially. And then for those that maybe already have some understanding and feel like they're embodying well-being and they've already committed to a lot of personal work, but they're struggling with the money aspect, I have the course called Prosperity, which is to help you heal your relationship to money, which is really also about intimacy and receiving. And there's so many deeper layers to that. And then I have the Energetic and Embodiment Mastery Circle. And I do 2 retreats a year. Usually one is international, one is local. And I have a gift for the listeners, the Prosperity Roadmap Bundle. So we'll drop that link in the show notes. It's jenmons.com/prosperity-roadmap-bundle, I think is how it ends up coming out. And I would love to serve and support anyone that this aligns with. I believe in the vibrational match. And if this resonates with you, let's hop on a call or start with the Prosperity Roadmap Bundle.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And we will put the links to all of those goodies in the show notes. Thank you so much for being here, Jen. This was an amazing and much needed conversation.
Oh, thank you too. I always love our conversations and connection.
Likewise. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Hey, Ray here again. Thanks for listening. If you liked this episode, please subscribe and rate us in your favorite podcasting platform. Want to be a guest on the show or know someone who has an amazing story of entrepreneurship? Apply on our website at chironconsulting.us/podcast.